Hi everybody, Serafina here. Thank you for joining me. Hello. Today I'm very lazy. That's okay. I haven't been making many videos lately because I've been studying. Study or fail. So I'm not one of those people who can get motivated in the mornings. I admire those who do, but I tend to do my best work at night. So I've been having a lot of late nights doing some assignments and things like that. So feeling pretty tired actually, but feeling like I've accomplished a lot. And that's important. So you might want to just hang out. Do you want to come in? Come on. Snuggling. Come in, snuggling with me. Come on, come closer. How are we all today? I'm going to put my glove on. So that I can stroke my own face. I find it so relaxing. Stroke your face too. Imagine I'm stroking back your hair. Sliding over. One thing I like to do in bed, amongst other things, sleep, of course. I don't know what you were thinking of, dirty-minded people, and read. So I'm just about to start a new book. Shall I read a couple of pages to you? Hold on. I've been reading a lot of heavy textbooks and stuff, so it's about time for me to read a novel, some escapism. Hold on. Now, I am somebody who needs glasses to read, or I can't see a thing. This book is called Midnight in Europe, and this guy, Alan First, is actually one of my favourite authors. He writes sort of, Second World War era sort of spy stories, which I've enjoyed 3 or 4 of his so far, and I'm sure I'll enjoy this one too. So, shall I read some? Do you want to read the back? Tell you what it's about? Okay. Paris, 1938. Democratic forces are locked in a struggle as the shadows of war edge across Europe. Christian Ferrar, a handsome Spanish lawyer in Paris, I like the sound of him already, is approached to help a clandestine agency supply weapons to beleaguered Republican forces. He agrees, putting his life on the line. Joining Ferrar in his mission is an unlikely group of allies, idealists and gangsters, arms dealers, aristocrats and spies. From shady nightclubs in Paris to sailors' bars on the Gdansk waterfront, First paints a spellbinding portrait of a continent marching into a nightmare and the heroes and heroines who fought back. After studying a lot of this stuff, I sometimes wonder what I would have done. I would like to think I would have done something a lot of very ordinary people didn't. Anyway, that's another story. Oh, on the front, it has a map. I love a map. Europe 1938 with all of the borders. Okay, let me read you a couple of pages. The Paris front. On a soft winter evening in Manhattan, the 15th of December 1937, it started to snow. Big flakes spun lazily in the sky, danced in the lights of the office buildings, then melted as they hit the pavement. At Saks Fifth Avenue, the window displays were lush and glittering. Tinsel, toy train, sugary frost dusted on the glass, and a crowd had gathered in the main entrance, drawn by a group of carolers dressed for a Dickens Christmas, in long scarves, hats, bonnets. Here and there, for as long as it lasted, was a romantic New York, the New York in a song on the radio. Christian Ferrar, a Spanish émigré who lived in Paris, took a moment to enjoy the spectacle, then hurried across the avenue as the traffic light turned red and began to work his way through the crowd. In a buckled briefcase under his arm, he had that morning's New York Times. The international news was as usual. Marches, riots, assassinations, street brawls, arson, political warfare was turning Europe apart. Real war was coming, and this was merely the overture. In Spain, political warfare had fled into civil war, and, the Times reported, the Army of the Republic had attacked General Franco's fascist forces at the Aragonese town of Teruel. And you only had to turn the page. There was more. Hitler's Nazi Germany had issued new restrictions on Jews, while here was a photograph of Benito Mussolini shown in his personal rail car as his staff gave the stiff-armed fascist salute, and there a photograph of Marshal Stalin reviewing a parade of tank columns. Already, it's not setting us up for a blissful, romantic interlude, is it? But I don't read those sorts of books. Christian Ferrar would force himself to read it, would ask himself, is there anything to be done? Is it hopeless? So it seemed. Elsewhere in the newspaper, the democratic opposition to the dictators tried not to show fear, but it was in their every word, the nervous dithering of the losing side. As Franco and his generals attacked the elected republic, the others joined in. Troops and more planes provided by Germany and Italy, and with every victory they boasted and bragged and strutted, it's our turn, get out of our way, or else. He'd had a long, long day. A lawyer with the Coup de Ferrez law firm in Paris, Coup de, he would remind his American clients. He spent hours at the Coup de Brothers office at 2 Rector Street. There'd been files to read, meetings to attend, and confidential discussions with the partners as they worked on matters that involved both the Paris and New York offices, whose wealthy clientele had worldwide business interests and sometimes eccentric lives. Like the sound of that. I love an eccentric person. Some people say I am. They're the best sort. Couder had, early in the century, famously untangled the Byzantine affairs of the son of Jacques Le Bordy. Le Bordy Père had earned millions of dollars, becoming known as the Sugar King of France. But the son was another story. On receipt of his father's fortune, he'd gone thoroughly mad and led private army to North Africa, and there he declared himself Emperor of the Sahara. Wish it was that easy. I've declared myself Queen of my house. I'd like to declare myself Queen of the world. In time, the French Foreign Legion had sent the Emperor packing, and he'd wound up living on Long Island, where his wife shot and killed him. Excellent. But the difficulties of the Labordi case were minor compared to what Kudo had faced that day. The legal hell created by the Spanish Civil War, now in its 17th month. Individuals and corporations cut off from their money, families in hiding because they were trapped on the wrong side, whatever side that was. Burned homes, burned factories, burnt records, with no means of proving anything to insurance companies or banks or government bureaucracies. The Kudo lawyers in Paris and New York did the best they could, but sometimes there was little to be done. We regret your misfortune, monsieur, but the oil tanker had apparently vanished. Farrar had left the Kudo office at 5:30 and headed downtown to his hotel, the Gotham. Then, as a favour to a friend at the Spanish Embassy in Paris, he'd walked over to the Spanish Republic's Arms buying office at 515 Madison Avenue. Here he'd picked up 2 manila envelopes he would take back to Paris. The days when you could trust the mail were long gone. He went next to Saks, meaning to buy Christmas presents, a hammered silver bracelet and a cashmere sweater. For a woman friend he was to meet at 7. She'd like those. This love affair had gone on for more than 2 years, as, every 3 months or so, he flew to Lisbon, where one could take the Pan Am flying boat to New York. Actually, Farrar was not precisely a Spaniard. He'd been born in Barcelona, and so thought of himself as Catalan, and from Catalonia in ancient times, a principality that included the French province of Roussillon. A Castilian from Madrid might well have recognised Farrar's origin. His skin at the pale edge of dark, a gentle hawkish slope to his nose, and the deep green eyes common to the Catalan, with thick black hair combed straight back from the forehead and cut in the European style, noticeably long and low on the neck. In June he turned 40, with horse riding in the Bois de Boulogne twice a week, and stayed lean and tight with just that exercise. I like the sound of it. Heading towards the entrance to Saks, he wore a kind of lawyer's battle dress, good sober suit beneath a tan, delicately soiled raincoat, fedora hat slightly tilted over the left eye, maroon scarf and brown leather gloves. Oh, we love gloves. With a briefcase under his arm, Farrar looked like what he was, a lawyer, a hard-working paladin, ready to defend you against Uncle Henry's raid on your trusts. As he reached the entry to the department store, Farrar saw, once again, a thin little fellow who wore gold-rimmed spectacles, hands in the pockets of a blue overcoat, shoulders slumped as far as from fatigue or sorrow, who had followed him all day. This time he was leaning against the door of a taxi while the driver read a newspaper by the light of a street lamp. The man in the blue overcoat had been with Farrar at every stop, waiting outside at each location, but not at all secretive, as though someone wanted Farrar to know he was being watched. Now, who could this be? There were many possibilities. For the Secret Service of Germany, Italy, and the USSR, the Civil War in Spain was the spy master's dream, and attacks were organised against targets everywhere in Europe. Politicians on the left, diplomats, intellectuals, journalists, idealists, all much favoured prey of the clandestine forces, be they fascist or communist. At embassies, social salons, grand hotels and nightclubs, the predators worked day and night. As for the man who followed him, Farrar suspected he might be a local communist in the service of the NKVD. Since the USSR, the Republic's crucial, almost only ally, famously spied on its enemies, its friends, and everybody else. Who could the man be working for? Franco's secret police? NKVD, Soviet Special Police. Don't mess with them. Farrar was determined not to brood about it, but he could think of nothing to do in response. But he was not someone who easily intimidated. He dismissed the man's presence and with an unvoiced sigh pulled the massive door open and entered the store. Barely audible above the din of the shopping crowd, yet another band of carolers was singing, joyful and triumphant. Momentarily, adrift in an aromatic haze of perfume and cosmetics counters. Why are the perfume and the cosmetics counters always on the ground floor? You get lost in this maze of cosmetics, which I don't mind, but I think it's a tactic. Anyway, where were we? Momentarily adrift in an aromatic maze of perfume and cosmetics counters, Farrar searched for the jewellery department. The man in the blue overcoat waited outside. There we go. Setting us up nicely for an awesome rip-roaring spy tale. And who doesn't love that? Anyway, I hope everybody's happy and well today. Thank you so much for joining me on my lazy day, indulging me in lazing about and reading books. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe.